judge himself told everyone this should have never happened. I walked in with wrist and ankle cuffs and walked out vindicated.
She stood by him through a nationally televised lawsuit, through years of legal battles, and through the moment he filmed a video from behind jail walls. But 5 months after David "Heavy D" Sparks walked out of 3 days in solitary confinement, his wife Ashley Sparks quietly walked into a Utah courthouse and filed for divorce. No public statement, just paperwork and silence. The couple had been together for nearly 16 years. They met at church, built a family, raised 3 kids, and appeared to weather every storm the Diesel Brothers brand threw their way. So what actually happened? And what did Ashley finally say about it all? Let's get into it. She filed, and nobody saw it coming. On March 10th, 2026, Ashley Sparks filed for divorce from David "Heavy D" Sparks in a Utah court. The filing was quiet. No reason was listed. No joint statement was released. No rep issued a response. The documents were lean, just the legal basics. But the timing? That told a different story entirely. What made this filing land differently from the average celebrity split wasn't just who filed, or that there was no explanation attached to it. It was the contrast. 5 months earlier, David had been all over social media, posting a 30-minute video defending himself after being hauled to jail. He was loud, passionate, and fighting.
I post on Facebook, so I must get paid by Facebook. And he wanted to get access to that money that they were paying me, which they weren't.
Ashley, meanwhile, had stayed out of it entirely. She hadn't commented on the arrest. She hadn't posted about the legal chaos. She had gone quiet in a way that, looking back now, might have been telling. Ashley has a following of her own, around 177,000 people on Instagram, and she had regularly shared family moments, honest reflections on marriage, and glimpses of life behind the Diesel Brothers brand. But somewhere in the stretch between his October arrest and her March filing, that sharing slowed down. Nobody expected the divorce filing. Fans who followed the family closely described it as coming out of nowhere. The couple had been married since August 2010. Before that, they had dated for 2 years after meeting at a church in Utah in 2008. By the time the filing hit the news, they had been together for the better part of 16 years. 3 children, 1 shared public identity, and now court documents. What those documents don't tell us, the why, the when things actually shifted, what the last straw may have been, is exactly what has kept people talking. Who Ashley Sparks actually is, and what she said about the marriage. Ashley Sparks was never a background figure in the Diesel Brothers world, even if she wasn't always front and center. She built her own audience independently of the show, keeping her Instagram page filled with family content, personal reflections, and the kind of candid writing that felt more honest than most reality TV-adjacent accounts. In August 2021, when the couple hit their 11th wedding anniversary, Ashley posted something that got a lot of attention at the time, and reads very differently now. She wrote that she used to say she loved everything about David, until one day she caught herself saying it out of habit, laughed, and took it back. She called it refreshing to realize that nobody is perfect, and no marriage is perfect. She said they had been through ups and downs, their fair share of both, and that the key was choosing to focus on the good. It was warm, it was honest, and it was clearly written by someone who had been in a long marriage long enough to know that the version of love that sustains you isn't the same one that starts you out. She also talked about how she and David both had quirks the other didn't enjoy. She didn't sugarcoat it. She framed it plainly. No 2 people love every single thing about each other, and that's fine. What matters is effort and where you put your focus. That post is worth sitting with, because it's one of the last times Ashley opened up publicly about the state of their relationship, and it was written during a period that, from the outside, looked relatively calm. The show had wrapped. The family was settled in Utah. David was still building the brand. The legal battles were ongoing, but hadn't yet escalated to arrests. What she said in 2021 was essentially that their marriage was real, not curated, not perfect, but real and worth it. The question is, what changed in the years between that anniversary post and the morning she drove to the courthouse? The arrest that changed everything's trajectory. To understand the timeline of this divorce, you have to understand what October 2025 actually looked like for this family. On October 7th, 2025, U.S. Marshals arrested David Sparks and booked him into Salt Lake County Jail. He was 40 years old. The arrest was civil, not criminal, stemming from a contempt of court order tied to a nearly decade-long legal battle with Utah physicians for a healthy environment, a nonprofit that had sued the Diesel brothers back in 2017. The original lawsuit alleged that David, along with co-defendants including Joshua Stewart and 2 affiliated companies, had illegally removed pollution control equipment from diesel trucks.
The Diesel brothers say before the 4 long years of this lawsuit even started, they were already making changes to their diesel trucks,
modifying them to roll coal, the practice of producing thick black exhaust, and then sold those trucks and parts as part of their television brand. In 2020, a federal judge found them liable and ordered payment of more than $851,000 in civil penalties and legal fees. David didn't pay, not in full, not over the next several years. And in the summer of 2025, things escalated sharply. He was found in contempt of court in June 2024 for the first time. Then again, in August 2025, this time for transferring property in a way the court said violated the first contempt order, after finding that David had also failed to provide required financial disclosures to the plaintiffs. A federal judge issued a bench warrant for his arrest on October 2nd. 5 days later, the marshals showed up. David spent roughly 2.5 days in solitary confinement at Salt Lake County Jail, 23 hours a day, alone in a cell. He was eventually released after a stipulation was reached during a court hearing, in which he agreed to provide the required disclosures within 10 days. The moment he got out, he posted a video. It ran 30 minutes. He was composed but raw, and he was very specific about what he wanted people to understand. He hadn't been charged with a crime. No crime had been alleged. This was a civil paperwork dispute, he said, that had been weaponized by lawyers who had turned environmental statutes into a personal revenue stream. He talked about his longtime accountant, Christy Van Mering, who had passed away unexpectedly in December 2024, taking with her the passwords and access to key financial records his attorneys needed to satisfy the court's disclosure demands. He said his team had invited the plaintiffs to their office, their shop, even his home and his cabin, to look at everything in person, and they refused. He described spending those days in solitary as the most miserable experience of his life. He said 2 days was enough to give him a new respect for anyone who had ever served real time. What he didn't talk about, not in that video, not in the coverage around it, was Ashley. She was entirely absent from the public narrative around the arrest, and she said nothing